Hi, I'm Patricia. I grew up in a world where everything seemed easy. My clothes, my cars, even the people around me. But sometimes I wonder, is the way people treat me real? Would they still see me the same way if I didn't have the name and fortune I do? I decided to find out. Today's the day I leave my last name behind and step into a world where no one knows who I am. I'm stepping into the unknown. And the only thing I'm carrying with me is the question, who am I without all of this? Let's find out. I'm Patrícia Alencar. Ever since I was a child, I've always known my family was different. I grew up surrounded by luxury and privileges most people would never experience. We had everything. But even as a kid, I noticed how people treated my parents. And later how they treated me. It wasn't something I understood back then, but over time, I realized that the way we were treated didn't come from the heart. It felt like we were surrounded by smiles that disappeared the moment we left the room. At school, other kids wanted to be my friend because of my toys. Teachers praised me even when I knew my work wasn't that great. It bothered me. Did anyone really see me for who I was? Or was it just because of what I had? Over time, this weighed on me deeply. I grew up wondering if I'd ever find someone who would look beyond my name. Someone who would treat me genuinely without any interest. So one day I decided to put this to the test. I went to the fanciest salon in town. When I walked into the salon that day, it felt like I had stepped into another world. Everything seemed perfect. Flawless hair, fake smiles, and expensive perfume filling the air. Mariana was the most famous stylist there, the favorite of the rich clients. But I didn't know much about her until I overheard a conversation. While I waited, one of the staff was talking to another about Mariana. Did you know she came from a really humble family? One of them said. The other replied. Yeah, I heard she started working really young to help her family. She's always believed that if she pleased the right people, she could go far. And look at her now, only working with the wealthiest clients. The interesting thing about Mariana was that, even though she came from a tough background, her view of success was shaped by that struggle. She believed that to overcome her past, she had to surround herself with rich clients, forgetting where she came from. I could tell that she placed all her worth in the hands of those clients. And that made her lose sight of what really mattered. Respecting people no matter their status. When I entered the salon, nothing about my appearance gave away who I really was. I was dressed simply without makeup, and I decided I wouldn't show what I actually had. I wanted to be treated like anyone else. And right from the start, I could feel the weight of their judgment. The receptionist, who seemed distracted, glanced at me from head to toe. It took her less than 2 seconds to decide I wasn't worth her attention. Hi, I'd like to book an appointment with Mariana, I said politely. She gave me a forced smile, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes, and said, We're fully booked today. Mariana only sees special clients. I knew exactly what that meant. But instead of feeling offended, my curiosity grew. So I decided to wait. I can wait, I replied calmly. I sat in a corner while the clients around me were treated to all sorts of pampering. Champagne, hot towels, you name it. Meanwhile, I was invisible. It didn't take long before a richly dressed client entered the salon. She was wearing a designer dress, sparkling jewelry, and was accompanied by her personal assistant. The receptionist practically jumped out of her seat, beaming. Mrs. Amanda, what a pleasure to see you again. Today we have that special treatment you love, and of course Mariana is ready for you. The client smiled, clearly satisfied with the attention. Great, I really needed a princess day. They laughed together like old friends. I watched the exchange and realized how mechanical that flattery was. Everything revolved around pleasing the most important clients. The ones who brought status to the salon. Mariana appeared almost instantly, wearing the same smile the receptionist had. Amanda, darling. Today we're going to make you look even more stunning. I've got the perfect cut for you. It was all an act. A well-rehearsed performance they put on every day for the clients who seemed worth it. And there I was, in the corner, still observing, waiting to see just how far this would go. As I waited, I started noticing Mariana talking to the other staff, unaware that I was listening. It was interesting to hear them because, in moments like that, people tend to be more honest. These important clients are what keep this place running, Mariana said to one of the employees. If you want to get ahead in this salon, you've got to learn how to spot the ones who matter. The ones who can pay more always come first. The other employee nodded in agreement. Yeah, but sometimes I feel like we're losing touch with the others. I mean, we're here to serve everyone, right? Mariana chuckled, a bit sarcastically. Do you really think someone who can't pay is going to help me get ahead in life? I need to be seen, to be recognized. And the people who can give me that are the ones with money. It's that simple. That idea kept ringing in my head. That was her philosophy. She wasn't interested in doing a great job, in being the best at what she did because of merit. She wanted to impress, to be recognized. It was as if her worth was placed in the hands of others. In the hands of the people she served. Me. I was invisible in her world. As I listened to that conversation, I began to think about what it all meant. Does everyone around us treat us like this? Based on what we have? Based on how we appear? Part of me already knew the answer, but it was hard to accept. I had never really experienced this until now. I had never been ignored or treated as if I didn't matter. And the truth was, as painful as it was an important lesson. I started questioning myself. Am I guilty of this too? Have I, in some way, benefited from this treatment all these years? Always being praised, always getting the best, but without questioning why? What I was experiencing in that salon was probably what many people feel daily. The difference was that, for me, it was temporary. For others, it was their reality. The idea that money determines who we are, how much we're worth, began to bother me deeply. I found myself reflecting on how the world could be different if everyone were treated equally, regardless of how much money they have. Mariana, with her blind focus on pleasing the wealthy, represented what many see as the path to success. But at that moment I realized how empty that was. She was losing something precious. The ability to see people for who they really are. As I sat there, I felt torn. Part of me wanted to reveal my identity and show her how wrong she was. But another part of me knew that wouldn't change anything. The problem was much deeper than who I was or what I had. The truth was, if I revealed my identity at that moment, it would only confirm what she believed. That we only deserve attention and respect if we're rich or famous. In that moment, I remembered a situation with my dad. We were at an expensive restaurant and the waiter, clearly nervous, treated us with uncomfortable reverence. He stumbled over his words, trying to be perfect. When he finally brought our bill, my dad calmly asked, "Do you treat all customers this way, or is it just because you know who we are?" The waiter didn't answer, just looked away. I remember that bothered me deeply. What was worse, being ignored or being treated with exaggerated respect just because of who we were? That memory made me reflect even more on what was happening in the salon. Maybe it was time for me to speak up, but in a way that could really provoke change, not just reinforce Mariana's distorted beliefs. After hours of waiting, I finally decided it was time to act. I got up and walked over to Mariana. She was busy with another client, but I stood next to her and calmly said, "Hi Mariana. I'm Patricia. I've been waiting for a while and I'd really like you to do my hair." She looked at me for a moment, surprised that I had the courage to speak directly to her. There was something in my voice that seemed to hit a nerve with her. For a second it seemed like she was considering ignoring me again, but instead she gave in. "All right, I'll do your hair now," she said with a tone of suspicion. As she worked on my hair, the silence between us felt deeper than any conversation could have been. I knew she was uncomfortable, but not for the reason she thought. It wasn't because I didn't seem important. It was because, on some level, she was realizing that her behavior wasn't right. Every movement she made showed that inner tension. At the end, she asked me, "Are you new in town? I've never seen you here before." I smiled slightly. "I prefer to keep my personal life a bit private," I responded without giving too much away. And then, in that moment, I revealed who I was. My full name is Patrícia Alencar. My family has had businesses in this city for decades. You probably know my father, Eduardo Alencar. Mariana was shocked. She went pale and speechless. I know. Eduardo Alencar. That's when I smiled and said calmly, "That shouldn't matter, should it?" She seemed to struggle for words, but something had changed. I could see on her face that she understood now. The way she treated people was wrong, and at that moment I knew she was sorry. "I never thought," Mariana began but stopped. I just smiled and said, "We never think about these things until we're on the other side, Mariana. But there's something you can do: start treating everyone with respect. Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters." Mariana was silent for a few seconds, and I could see her hands trembling slightly. It had finally hit her. I knew that conversation was going to change something in her. But I also knew that change wouldn't be easy. After all, she had spent her entire life believing that success and status were the only things that mattered. When she finally spoke again, her voice was different, softer, almost sad. "I never thought someone like you would think this way," she said almost in a whisper. "I always thought you people had everything." I sighed, thinking about what to say. "We do have a lot, yes. But at the end of the day, everyone just wants to be treated like a human being. Money shouldn't buy respect. Treat everyone equally." Mariana nodded, and in that moment, I saw a silent tear roll down her face. "I'll try to be different," she said, and I believed her. As I walked out of the salon, I realized that something had changed in me too. I learned much more than I expected that day. It's not about how others see me, but about how I choose to see others. Everyone deserves our respect, our attention, and our understanding. I'm Patrícia, and today I learned that a person's true value isn't in how they appear, but in how they treat others. Wealth isn't measured by what we have, but by what we offer the world. Having value means valuing others. If you liked my story, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and hit the notification bell to know when another story arrives. Bye.